Have you ever wondered, after turning 50, whether happiness still comes from dreams or if life is just about waiting for days to pass? This video will show you that daring to dream again is the real medicine for revival. Heart-touching opening. Picture this: you wake up in the morning, the house is quiet, and for a second, you ask yourself, what's the point of today? That question, sharp like a whisper you don't want to hear, is what too many people over 50 carry silently. It's not that you don't have a life. You have family, maybe grandkids, a routine. But somewhere inside, the flame that once pulled you forward feels dimmer. That's not laziness. That's not weakness. That's your soul telling you it misses the thrill of dreaming. Science backs this up. Researchers from Stanford have shown that as people age, their motivation naturally shifts from chasing new goals to protecting what they already have. It's like your brain slowly trades curiosity for caution. That's why the thought of dreaming again, starting something new at 60, 70, even 80, feels almost reckless. But here's the twist. Studies also reveal that older adults who set new goals, even small ones, report higher life satisfaction, stronger memory, and lower risk of depression. Translation? Dreaming is not a luxury. It's oxygen. Let's be brutally honest. Many people stop dreaming not because they're too old, but because society has whispered into their ears, your time is past. Just stay safe. Don't expect more. That voice is a liar. It steals your fire and leaves you walking through life like a ghost. Here's the truth I want you to hold on to as we go deeper in this video. Happiness isn't about the giant achievements you once thought you needed. It's not the big house, the promotions, or the trophies. It's about daring to imagine again, daring to spark a new fire, daring to say, I'm not done yet. So if you're listening to this right now, already feeling that dull ache of lost purpose, consider this video your wake-up call. Because in the next 20 minutes, we're going to peel back the lies, poke at the fears, and uncover the tiny, almost hidden ways you can bring your dreams back to life at any age. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. But so does every good stretch when muscles haven't been used in a while. This stretch? It's for your soul. The hidden pain. You know what's strange? Nobody talks about the quiet kind of pain. Not the broken bones or the aching knees, that's easy to point at. I'm talking about the ache that sits in your chest when you realize you've been living on autopilot for years. It's that secret thought, is this all there is left for me? And the cruel part? Most people keep it hidden, smiling at family dinners, nodding politely at neighbors, while inside they're screaming for something more. Psychologists call this the loss of purpose crisis. After 50, especially post-retirement, your brain loses the daily anchors that once gave life meaning: work deadlines, kids to raise, bills to chase. Without those anchors, the mind drifts. And drifting feels a lot like emptiness. Studies from Harvard on aging found that older adults who lack a sense of purpose are twice as likely to suffer from cognitive decline. In plain English, when you stop having something to look forward to, your brain literally starts shutting down its engines. Here's an image for you. Imagine your brain as a garden. In your 20s and 30s, it's overflowing with seeds: ambition, curiosity, challenges. By 60, if no new seeds are planted, the soil doesn't just sit there, it dries up. That dryness? That's the hidden pain. It's why you feel restless, even when your calendar looks peaceful. But here's the kicker: society tells you this restlessness is just part of aging. Relax, you've earned it. Take it easy. Yet inside, it doesn't feel like rest. It feels like suffocation. Because human beings, no matter the age, are wired to grow. Stop growing, and you don't feel peace, you feel stuck. Let's not sugarcoat it. Some days, this hidden pain can make you feel invisible, like the world has already moved on without you. But the fact that you feel this ache is not a sign of weakness, it's proof you're still alive, still hungry, still capable of dreaming. And that pain? It's not the end. It's the invitation to start again. Understanding the aging brain. Here's a weird fact: your brain at 70 is still making new neurons. Yep, science proved it. In 2019, researchers from Columbia University discovered that even people in their 70s were growing brand new brain cells in the hippocampus, the part responsible for memory and imagination. So if anyone told you your brain is too old to dream, science just slapped them with a big nope. But there's a catch. As you age, your brain gets stingy with a chemical called dopamine. Think of dopamine as your inner fuel of excitement. When you were 20, your brain was practically throwing dopamine parties. Every new idea, every adventure, every risk gave you a high. By 60 or 70, the brain shifts into conservation mode. Less dopamine means fewer fireworks. Suddenly, what used to feel thrilling now feels meh. And when the brain stops rewarding you for curiosity, you stop chasing new dreams. Here's another twist. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that makes decisions, tends to get cautious with age. Evolution designed it that way. Why? Because your ancestors who survived into old age weren't the risk takers climbing trees for fun. They were the careful ones who said, "Let's not wrestle that bear today." So when you wonder why starting something new feels terrifying now, it's not just you, it's your biology whispering, "Better safe than sorry." But let's flip the script. Neuroscience also shows that challenging your brain with new goals, learning guitar at 65, taking a cooking class at 72, writing poetry at 80, creates fresh neural connections. Translation: dreaming doesn't just keep your spirit alive, it literally keeps your brain younger. In fact, studies on lifelong learners show they have a 30% lower risk of Alzheimer's. That's not magic. That's the brain saying, "Thank you for giving me something to chew on." So the truth is simple: your aging brain isn't broken, it's just waiting for a reason. Give it one. Feed it with curiosity. Wake it up with daring. Because every time you chase a new dream, no matter how small, you're not only writing a new story, you're rewiring your brain to keep living it. The trap of settling. Let's be honest, society loves to box people in after a certain age. The script goes something like this: you've worked hard, now just relax. Watch TV, play with grandkids, don't cause trouble. On the surface, it sounds kind, even respectful. But underneath? It's a velvet trap. Because what they're really saying is, stop dreaming. Stop growing. Your role now is to fade quietly. The problem is, humans aren't built to fade. We're built to expand. Psychologists call it self-actualization, the drive to become more than we are, at every stage of life. And here's the kicker: that drive doesn't die at 50, 60, or even 90. What dies is permission. Permission from society, from family, sometimes even from yourself. You start hearing the word in fan or settle down, and it feels like a soft blanket. But give it time, it turns into a straitjacket. Think of it this way. Settling is like sitting in a rocking chair, there's motion, but no progress. You move all day, yet you end up in the same place. Comfortable? Yes. Fulfilling? Not a chance. And slowly, your brain buys into the lie that comfort is all you deserve. But inside, something rebels. That's why you feel restless, even when everything is fine. Science backs this rebellion. A 2020 study in the Journal of Positive Psychology showed that older adults who continue to pursue new goals, no matter how modest, report significantly higher levels of life satisfaction than those who settle. It's not about achieving grand success, it's about refusing to let the flame go out. Here's the cruel irony: people around you might think they're protecting you by saying, "Don't bother, it's too late." But in reality, they're handing you a life of quiet despair. Settling looks safe, but it's actually the slowest form of giving up. So let's call the trap what it is. Settling is not peace, it's resignation dressed up in polite clothes. And you? You were never meant to shrink into that. Because the moment you accept just existing, you stop truly living. Anne's story at 72. Imagine this: a 72-year-old woman named Anne, sitting alone in her kitchen in Toronto, staring at a half-empty cup of tea. Her husband had passed away 5 years earlier, her children lived hours away, and every day felt like a rerun of the last. She once told a friend, "It feels like I'm just waiting for the credits to roll." That's the hidden soundtrack of too many lives after 70, quiet resignation. But here's where Anne's story takes a turn. One day, while sorting through old boxes, she found a sketchbook from her 20s. Inside were messy, vibrant drawings of flowers, faces, cityscapes. She hadn't touched a pencil in decades. Something inside her stirred. Could I even draw again, she wondered. The cautious part of her brain screamed, "Don't be ridiculous. That part of your life is gone." But the ache in her chest whispered louder, "Try." So she did. At first, her lines wobbled, her colors looked childish. But she kept going. She started watching free YouTube tutorials. She joined a local seniors art class, shaking with nerves on the first day, convinced everyone would laugh. Instead, she found encouragement, laughter, and friends. Within a year, Anne was painting portraits that her grandchildren begged to hang in their rooms. 2 years later, she sold her first watercolor at a community fair. At 72, she wasn't just passing time anymore. She was creating again. Science explains Anne's transformation. Studies on neuroplasticity show that when older adults engage in creative pursuits, their brains literally rewire, new connections form, mood stabilizes, and even memory improves. And didn't just pick up a hobby. She reignited her sense of purpose. That's why her eyes lit up again, why her laugh came back louder, why her days no longer felt like reruns. Anne's story is proof it's never too late to dream again. The world didn't hand her a new life, she chose it. With a pencil. With shaky hands. With courage to begin, not because she was guaranteed success, but because she was tired of feeling invisible. Here's the punchline: the dream didn't save Anne's life. Daring to dream again did. The power of small dreams. Here's the thing nobody tells you: happiness doesn't require you to climb Everest or write a best-selling novel at 75. It doesn't even require you to shock your neighbors with a world record. Sometimes, the tiniest dream is the one that cracks open your heart. Psychologists call this the micro-goal effect. When you set a small dream, like planting a herb garden, learning 3 new guitar chords, or baking bread from scratch, your brain releases dopamine, that same feel-good chemical teenagers get from falling in love. And guess what? That dopamine doesn't care how big the dream is. It just cares that you reached for something. Let's make this real. Think about the man who dreamed of running marathons in his youth. At 68, his knees won't allow it. So instead, he sets a smaller dream: walk a mile every morning in the park. Within months, he notices his sleep improves, his mood lifts, and strangers greet him like an old friend. Did he win medals? No. Did he win mornings filled with meaning? Absolutely. The beauty of small dreams is that they bypass the brain's natural resistance. When you tell yourself, "I'll start a bakery at 70, your inner critic screams, "Too late." But when you whisper, "I'll learn to bake a single perfect croissant," the brain shrugs and says, "Why not?" Small dreams slip past fear like keys sliding quietly into locks, and here's the kicker: small dreams snowball. One herb in the garden becomes 5. One watercolor sketch becomes a gallery wall. One morning walk becomes a circle of walking buddies. Happiness grows not from giant leaps, but from tiny sparks that multiply when you dare to light them. So if you've been waiting for some grand second chance, stop. Don't wait for lightning. Strike a match yourself. Because in the end, it's the little dreams, the ones so small they almost feel silly, that keep your soul humming like a well-loved song. Or, to put it bluntly, you don't need to move mountains to feel alive again. Sometimes, planting a tomato will do the trick. How to restart a dream. Imagine trying to start an old car that's been sitting in the garage for 20 years. You don't slam the accelerator and hope for the best. You check the engine, warm it up, and ease into motion. Restarting your dreams works the same way: gentle, steady, one step at a time. Step 1. Listen to the whispers. Dreams don't usually scream at you in your 70s. They show up as quiet nudges: a recipe you keep wanting to try, a book idea you can't stop thinking about, a skill you admire in others. Instead of brushing those nudges aside, treat them like breadcrumbs leading you back to yourself. Step 2. Start embarrassingly small. Neuroscientists at Duke University found that when we set goals that are too big, the brain's fear center, the amygdala, goes haywire, shutting down motivation. But when the goal is laughably small, like writing one paragraph, learning one new word in Spanish, or taking a 10-minute walk, your brain relaxes. It thinks, "I can do that," and slowly builds momentum. Step 3. Create accountability. Share your little dream with someone: your friend, your grandchild, even a Facebook group. Studies show that when you tell someone your goal, you're 65% more likely to follow through. It's not magic, it's just that humans hate breaking promises, even small ones. Step 4. Celebrate the tiniest wins. Too many people wait until the big achievement to feel proud. Don't. Every step, every awkward sketch, every burnt loaf of bread, every clumsy dance class is proof you're daring again. And daring, at any age, is heroic. Here's the funny part: once you start, you'll wonder why you ever waited. People will ask, at your age, why bother? And the answer is simple: because life isn't measured by how many birthdays you've had, it's measured by how many times you felt alive. Restarting a dream isn't about going back to who you were. It's about uncovering who you still are. And trust me, that version of you? They've been waiting patiently, tapping their foot, ready to begin. So go ahead. Turn the key. The engine of your dreams still runs. The science of joy. Here's a surprising truth: joy isn't just a fluffy emotion floating in the clouds, it's biological fuel. When you chase a dream, no matter how small, your body responds like it's been plugged into a charger. Blood pressure drops. Stress hormones like cortisol shrink. And chemicals like dopamine and serotonin flood your system, giving you the mental equivalent of fresh air. A study from Yale found that older adults who pursued new personal goals reported 30% higher life satisfaction than those who didn't. Not because their goals were glamorous, but because their brains got the signal: we're still in the game. And when your brain believes that, your body follows. People with active goals after 60 are less likely to suffer depression, more resilient after illness, and even live longer. Yes, science literally says dreaming keeps you alive. Let me put it this way: your brain is like a light bulb. If you don't give it new current, new sparks of excitement, it flickers dim. But light it up with anticipation, and suddenly everything feels clearer. That's why a grandmother learning piano laughs like a teenager again, or why a retired mechanic glows when he finally builds the wooden boat he once imagined. And here's the kicker: joy doesn't come after achievement, it comes during the process. That's why neuroscientists talk about the anticipation effect. Your brain actually releases more dopamine when you expect something exciting than when you get it. Translation? Dreaming itself is medicine. You don't have to finish the marathon to feel the joy, just lacing up the shoes can spark it. So, let's kill the myth once and for all. Happiness isn't hiding in some grand prize waiting at the end. It's baked into every small attempt, every curious step, every silly little project you allow yourself to try, and if anyone rolls their eyes and says, "At your age, why bother?" you can smile and reply, because joy isn't optional. It's my prescription. The principle of one spark a day. Let's be real, motivation doesn't come in lightning bolts. It's not going to knock on your door, drag you off the couch, and shout, "Time to change your life." No. Motivation shows up in sparks, tiny, fleeting, easy to miss sparks. And the trick? Catching just one each day. As psychologists call this the compound effect of microactions. Do something small, repeated daily, and your brain begins to rewire. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't feel a life-changing shift every time you brush, but do it consistently and you avoid decay. Same with dreams. One spark a day keeps the soul from rotting. What does a spark look like? It can be ridiculously small. Reading 2 pages of a book you've always wanted to finish. Writing 1 sentence in a journal. Calling a friend to share an idea. Watching a tutorial for 5 minutes instead of scrolling through bad news. Each spark feeds your brain a message: we're alive. We're moving. Neuroscience even has receipts. The brain's reward system lights up not from grand achievements but from repeated progress. That's why researchers at Harvard found that people who commit to daily microgoals report 40% higher happiness levels than those chasing one big, distant goal. Your brain doesn't want a finish line, it wants a breadcrumb trail. Here's the beauty: sparks multiply. 1 sentence today becomes a paragraph tomorrow. 1 walk to the mailbox becomes a mile next week. Before you know it, your sparks have built a bonfire. And suddenly, you don't feel stuck anymore, you feel unstoppable. So, the principle is simple: don't wait for big waves of motivation. Strike your own match. Just 1 spark, every day. Because dreams aren't reborn in explosions. They're reborn in embers, steady, glowing, impossible to put out once they catch. And if anyone asks how you keep going at 60, 70, or 80, you smile and say, easy. I just light 1 spark a day. Closing the journey. So here we are. We've peeled back the lies, poked at the fears, and lit a few sparks along the way. And maybe right now you're thinking, okay, but can I really start dreaming again at my age? The answer is brutally, gloriously simple: yes. Not because life owes you another chance, but because you owe it to yourself to keep living, not just existing. Here's the secret: happiness doesn't hide in the big trophies of youth. It hides in daring to imagine, daring to try, daring to fail and laugh about it. The act of dreaming is not about the outcome, it's about the pulse it brings back to your days. It's the oxygen for your soul, the proof you're still in the game. Remember Anne at 72 with her sketchbook? She didn't restart her life with a grand plan. She started with a pencil. That's how it always begins: small, shaky, almost laughable. But that's the beauty: your dreams don't need to impress anyone. They just need to wake you up in the morning. So the final takeaway is this: you are never too old to dream, only too hesitant to dare. Life will always whisper excuses: too late, too risky, too silly. But if you can answer those whispers with 1 quiet act of courage, just 1, you've already won. Happiness isn't from the big things. It's from daring to dream again. And if you still have a heartbeat, you still have time. Dreams don't expire with age, they wait, quietly, for courage to return. Even at 70 or 80, one small dream can reignite a soul, proving that life's richest happiness comes not from what's gone, but from daring again.